Hello everyone, welcome to my sewing room. I'm Pearl Pereira, and today I'm going to show you a tip on one of my blocks for my new quilt, Into the Woods. This block is Possum block. Haven't quite figured out what her whole name is, but she is a possum. And today it is an embroidery tip. So let's get started and we'll see you in the demo. Okay, this is the possum. I think I'm naming her Polly. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is how, of course I showed you before already how to get the perfect position of your embroidery lines. And you're going to do that with a chalk pencil or a regular pencil if it is on a light fabric. And I've already done that on mine, and I've actually already started stitching. But as I was stitching, I was doing something that I always do, and I thought it was perfect time to show you that. Now, I have different sizes of blue tape, and I use them in my sewing room all the time. They're my best tool that I have in my sewing room. Now, I have a nice straight line here that I've stitched, and that's because I was able to stitch a nice straight line. Now, let's see. I have to figure out, yes, you stitch away from yourself. So I have my line here, and what I do is I will come right where my line is, and I am going to line up my blue tape right on here. And I'm also going to kind of make a little mark on here so that I know where I want to stop. And this is just a stem stitch. But the nice thing about stitching like this is you can get really straight lines. And when I'm trying to make something very straight, this is what gives me that added little bit of an edge that I can stitch next to and keeps my lines nice and straight. Now I'm just doing a stem stitch, or a stem stitch, I believe. And I'm just going and I'm stitching right next to the blue tape. So I'm going about 1/8 of an inch away from my previous stitch. I'm going into the background and I'm coming up at the same hole where my last stitch came out. And right here, this part's a little hard because I have a seam allowance right under this section right here. But you can still get through it. You don't have to go all the way through the back in that case because there's too many layers to go through. So I'm just to continue stitching, and the smaller your stitches are, the nicer your stem stitch will look. I find that it's a very useful stitch. Now I'm stitching with my thread coming off to the bottom. You can also stitch with it coming off to the top, which means I'd have it over here. Now it looks slightly a little bit different. This time it's twisting this way, and the other way it would be twisting the opposite direction. But you can see what happens, how easily it is to stitch and keep a nice straight line. This block is, can't remember which number this block is right at the moment. I wasn't thinking about looking that up before I started this, but it is one of the new blocks in the Into the Woods. Here we are in a seam allowance again, and I'm stitching with a Milner's, let's see, it's a Milner's it's an embroidery needle from Hemmings, and it's size 3 to 9. Sometimes they're called Milner's, but I do carry those on my website. There's 3 different sizes in the pack. A 3, I think a 3, a 6, and a 9. And I have a tendency to like a longer embroidery needle than some of the other embroidery needles because I'm used to stitching with my straw needle, which is kind of a long needle. So I like to have that same feel. Now these Hemmings have a nice sharp point, and they do have a large eye on the end, and especially because we are using the Sulky 12 weight, which is equivalent to 2 strands of embroidery floss, and that's why I like it. I'm sewing with 1 thread that I can stitch with, and I don't have to deal with separating the threads. I find that regular embroidery floss is a little bit fuzzier than the silky. The silky has a nice little sheen to it. Now I'm almost to the end of this, and I did want to go all the way to the end because I wanted to show you how nice and straight your line can be. And when I get to the end, I'm just going to go down to the back, and then I would set myself up for my next whisker, which I would be sewing. But the nice thing is that it will give you nice straight lines when you're stitching, so they don't curve off and go into unusual directions. Anyway, that was my stitch for the day. I also did use my templates, which are in my downloadable files and this for SVG files, and this cut it out, and I traced the groove for the berries on here. I did do some bullion stitches for the eyes, give them a little character, and have some other nice fun things hiding underneath here that you'll get to see when you get to see the whole block. So I hope you enjoyed this short video. Keep stitching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you.